Hello students, good morning. Okay, yesterday we completed components of male reproductive system. Okay, primary sex organs, secondary sex organs. Okay, so before we start the next point, let's have a quick recap. Okay, so that you can revise all the things once again. Fine. So we started with human male reproductive system. Human male reproductive system. In that we have seen that males have primary sex organs. These are pair of testes. Testes are located in a scrotal sac. These scrotal sacs are extra abdominal to maintain 2 to 2.5 degrees less temperature required for spermatogenesis. Testes develop during 7 to 8 week of embryonic life, and they are developed under the influence of FSH and LH. Okay. Whereas they descend into scrotum during 7 to 8 month of pregnancy, that is before birth. Fine, these points already we have discussed. We studied histology of testes, different part of testes, what is the path of testes. Once repeatedly I am revising the path of testes because questions will come from that part. So as you know that seminiferous tubule or inside each testis 200 to 250 testicular lobules are present. Each testicular lobule consists of 2 to 3 coiled tubular structures. These are known as seminiferous tubule. Seminiferous tubule, it is a structural and functional unit of spermatogenesis. Seminiferous tubules are internally lined by germ cells, germinal cells. Okay, these are known as spermatogonia. These spermatogonia differentiate into primary spermatocyte. These cells undergo meiotic division to produce spermatids or spermatozoa and sperms. Right? Then outside the seminiferous tubule there is a fluid. This fluid is known as interstitial fluid. In interstitial fluid there are group of endocrine cells, and these endocrine cells are known as Leydig cells or interstitial cells. Fine. Now these interstitial cells, they secrete androgens, testosterone, male hormones. Fine. Now inside the seminiferous tubule there are Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells, large size conical cells. They perform several functions. We discussed all these functions before. Okay. Fine. Now from that we have seen that. Now roughly I am drawing the sketch again. Okay. Now suppose this is the testis. Okay. Each testis has testicular lobules. Okay. Above the testis there is a epididymis, which is a highly coiled portion. Okay. Highly coiled portion. Epididymis has 3 parts. Okay. Its head, middle, that is body, and the tail. Okay. As we know that the head of epididymis is known as corpus. Head is known as caput, corpus, and cauda. Okay. Cauda epididymis, head, okay, body and tail. Okay. See, where sperms are formed? Sperms are formed in seminiferous tubule. From seminiferous tubule, okay, these are transferred toward, just try to recall the path from seminiferous tubule. Okay. So where are they formed? They are formed in seminiferous tubules. From seminiferous tubule, okay, 2 to 3 seminiferous tubule of one lobule, they unite to form a common duct. Okay, that duct is known as tubuli recti. Tubuli recti. Okay, tubuli recti of different seminiferous tubule, they join, okay, to form a network that is known as vasa recta. Rete testis. Okay, it is known as rete testis. Fine. Then 10 to 12 fine tubules arise from rete testis, that is known as vasa efferentia. Okay. Now these vasa efferentia is further coiled, highly coiled to form epididymis. Okay. Now one point on one query I was expecting from you, but no one asked that doubt. Okay. See, in what way these sperms are moving? Okay. See, what we discussed before, that sperms acquire motility, they functionally develop when they are stored in the epididymis. Yeah. This doubt I was expecting from you, but no one asked this doubt. What I told you, epididymis, it is a place, it is a part where sperms or the spermatids are stored. Okay. Spermatids mature. I told you that if we remove the spermatids or sperms from seminiferous tubule and if we allow those sperms to fertilize the egg cell, it is not possible because those sperms will not be able to fertilize the egg cell because they are not mature. Okay, they have not acquired the fertilizing capacity. Means when they are moving from seminiferous tubule, they are not yet mature. So how they are moving? They have not got the motility. So how they are reaching up to the epididymis, how they are reaching into the vas deferens. So whenever these spermatids, they are moving from seminiferous tubule to tubula recta, recta testis, vasa efferentia, they are moving by propelling movement. Okay, through the fluid, interstitial fluid is there. So that fluid pushes. Okay, this fluid push these spermatozoa, spermatids into epididymis. They are not active, they cannot swim by their own. Okay, they have not acquired that much speed which is required for swimming, that is required for swimming. They are not motile. Okay, they have not acquired all the fertilizing capacity, they are not yet active, so they cannot swim by their own, they cannot move by their own. Sperms, till they are in male, they are not, or they are non-motile. Okay, they have not got the proper they are not yet mature to swim by their own. So there is a propelling movement, they are pushed or they are carried with the help of interstitial fluid, and then they are stored in the epididymis. They mature, functional maturity, it is occur. Okay, they acquire the fertilizing capacity. Okay, they develop in such a way that they can acquire all the things which are required to fertilize the egg cell. Okay, now sperms can be stored in epididymis, they can be stored in the chorda part or the tail part of epididymis for 1 month. Okay, student, just remember this point. Sperms can be stored, sperms can be stored in chorda epididymis for about 1 month. Okay, but once ejaculated and once deposited in the female genital tract, then these sperms are viable only for 72 hours, that is only for 3 days. Okay, in female genital tract, in female genital tract, okay, alive for 72 hours. Okay, very important point, you have to remember this. Sperms remain alive in female genital tract only for 3 days. From that also they retain the fertilizing capacity for first 2 days or for the 48 days. Okay, after 3 days, okay, these sperms are phagocyte. Okay, so they become dead. So they remain alive in the female genital tract only for 72 hours. Fine. Then we have seen that from epididymis there rises a tube which goes back into the abdomen. So that is a ascending tube. Okay, it is known as vas deferens. The length of vas deferens is about 45 centimeters. Fine. Now this vas deferens then goes upside, it ascends up. Okay, and just it takes a turn over the urinary bladder. In yesterday's lecture we discussed, okay, where it goes and where it merges to the urethra. So from here it just takes a turn. Okay, it just turns over the urinary bladder. Okay, now before it enters the urethra, its opening dilates, and that dilated part of vas deferens, it is known as ampulla. Fine. Now this vas deferens carry this sperm. Still sperms are not able to swim by their own. Okay, they are just pushed away, or they are just pushed with the help of propelling moment, with the help of the fluid. Okay, they become active as soon as they reach in the female genital tract, few hours after reaching the female genital tract. Okay, at that time they acquire, they are motile, okay, and they can swim actively. Now throughout this moment, lot of energy it is required, that we discussed yesterday, that seminal vesicles, okay, glands secrete fructose. So fructose act as a source of energy for their movement. Right? Now this vas deferens, it opens into the urethra, which is a common passage for sperms as well as for urine. Fine? This part we have discussed. Now after this we discussed accessory glands. Okay, so paired seminal vesicle, single prostate gland, and paired bulbourethral gland. We have seen where are they located, what type of fluid they secrete. Okay, so secretions of these glands, they are commonly called as seminal plasma, because most of the fluid it is contributed by seminal vesicle. Okay, so that we call it as a seminal plasma. Okay, then we learn what is mean by semen. Okay, now semen, it is sperms plus secretion of glands. As I told you, in all three glands, seminal vesicles secrete major portion. So we commonly call secretions as seminal plasma. So semen equal to sperms plus seminal plasma. Okay, so sperms are about 10% in semen, remaining 90% in seminal plasma. Already we have seen that semen, it is slightly milky. Okay, it is sticky, it is alkaline, 7.2 to 7.7 pH. Average we take it as a 7.4. So semen, that is sperms plus seminal plasma. Semen consists of 10% of sperms, whereas 90% of seminal plasma. Fine. During one ejaculation, human male can release about 2.5 ml to 5 ml of semen, okay, per ejaculation. Okay, per ejaculation 2.5 ml to 5 ml of semen can be ejaculated. Okay, 1 ml of semen may consist of 50 to 120 millions of sperms. 50 to 120 millions of sperms are present per ml. Okay, fine. Now from this, for 60% must have normal shape and size, and from that 40% must be vigorously motile. Okay, then only fertilization can take place. Fine. Now what we discussed, semen, it is sperm plus seminal plasma. In semen there are 10% sperms. Then per ejaculation, human male can release or secrete 2.5 to 5 ml of semen. 1 ml of semen has 50 to 120 millions of sperms. Okay. Although these many sperms are produced, very few sperms reach up to the egg cell, and one only or very few sperms able to fertilize the egg cell. Why? Because yes, female reproductive tract or genital tracts are highly acidic. Most of the sperms get killed as soon as they reach the female genital tract. So that part we will see later on when we will study process of fertilization. So 50 to 120 millions of sperms are present per ml of semen. Fine, understood this point. Okay. Now next, with this we have seen some clinical terms. Okay. Normal sperm count, it is 50 to 150 million. We have seen one condition that is known as oligospermia. Oligospermia. Okay. Now what is oligospermia? Well, sperm count is less than, okay, sperms are less than 20 millions per ml, okay. In a semen, when sperm count is less than 20 millions, that is known as oligospermia. It can lead to infertility. Next term we discuss azoospermia. Azoospermia, as I told you, it is absence or near absence of sperms in the semen. Okay. Next two concept we will see, that is teratospermia. Okay. Teratospermia and asthenospermia. Teratospermia and asthenospermia. Okay. Now, teratospermia means there is a presence of large number of abnormal sperms. Large number of abnormal sperms. Large number of abnormal means sperms with two heads, okay, small size sperms, sperms with two tails, okay. Then such a condition, it is known as teratospermia. That is large number of abnormal sperms. If they are present in semen, that is known as teratospermia, okay. And asthenospermia means absence of sperm motility. Sperms are not able to move. That is known as asthenospermia. So absence of sperm motility. Okay, absence of sperm motility. Fine. These four clinical conditions we study: oligospermia, azoospermia, teratospermia, and asthenospermia. Fine. So these are the points. Fine. Now after this we are going to start the next point, that is hormonal regulation of male reproductive system. Okay, very important part. Question can ask for theory also on this. Okay, for MCQ also definitely questions will come on that part. So now let's see the next part, that is hormonal regulation. Hormonal regulation of male reproductive system. Okay, fine. From my first lecture, I am giving you some basic idea of different hormones which are involved in the development of male reproductive system. Okay, fine. I just want to give you some idea that as we discussed that testes are formed in the baby fetus, okay, during 7 to 8 week of embryonic life. Under influence of what? Under the influence of hormone FSH and LH. Okay, means these hormones start forming before that. Okay, we discussed that whenever these testes are formed, they are intra-abdominal. Okay, they descend into scrotum before birth during 7 to 8 month of pregnancy. So before that they are intra-abdominal. We studied that for spermatogenesis less temperature is required. So till they are intra-abdominal, spermatogenesis will not take place. Why? Because spermatogonia, they are sensitive to higher temperature. But this FSH and LH secreted by whom? Anterior lobe of pituitary gland. Testosterone is secreted by whom? Interstitial cells. These interstitial cells, they are not sensitive to high temperature. Means male hormones can produced from embryonic life, but spermatogenesis, that is process of sperm production, takes place later on. Fine. Are you able to understand this point? In embryonic state also male hormones are produced, because these hormones are produced by Leydig cells or interstitial cells. These cells are not sensitive to higher temperature. Fine. So male organs develop, male hormones are responsible for development of male characteristic in that baby, okay, or in that fetus. Fine. So in hormonal regulation, there are some gonadotropin releasing hormones. Okay, as we discussed, there is a GnRH, that is gonadotropin releasing hormones. This is secreted by whom? Hypothalamus. Okay, so hypothalamus secretes what? GnRH. Okay, now I am not writing its full form because you know already, you have learned in class 11. So hypothalamus secretes GnR. It is continuously getting secreted, not only before birth, okay, but after birth also throughout the life, because males are fertile, okay, from puberty till death. Okay, so once the fertilization or once the reproductive phase start or the puberty phase start, from that hormonal level increases, okay, and then males remain fertile. They can form or they can produce sperm, okay, throughout the life. So hypothalamus secrete GnRH. Okay, now this GnRH act on whom? It act on anterior pituitary. These GnRH act on anterior pituitary. Fine. Hypothalamus, what it secretes? Hypothalamus secretes GnRH. Okay. This GnRH act on anterior lobe of pituitary. Anterior pituitary releases two hormones. Okay. FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone, LH or ICSH. You know full forms of all these hormones. FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, LH, luteinizing hormone, ICSH, interstitial cells stimulating hormone. Right? Luteinizing hormones and interstitial cell stimulating hormones. Fine. Who is secreting these two hormones? Anterior pituitary secretes two hormones, FSH, LH or ICSH. Now, we have studied which are the target sites, okay, where are the receptors located for FSH. Now, the receptor of FSH, just try to recall, okay, receptors of FSH are located on Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells, okay. Whereas receptors of LH or ICSH, they are on Leydig's cells or interstitial cells. Fine. Where are they going? FSH goes or act on Sertoli cells. Okay. Whereas LH or ICSH act on whom? Act on Leydig cells. Fine. Now, FSH act on Sertoli cell. And Sertoli cell secretes what? Sertoli cell secretes androgen binding protein, that is ABP. And write this ABP here. ABP and inhibin. Okay. Already we have studied what is the function of ABP. Okay. Whereas Leydig cells secrete testosterone. Okay, or we can say androgens. Okay. Now, what is the function of testosterone? Testosterone, it is required for, yes, testosterone is required for overall process of spermatogenesis, okay, development of male characteristic, for spermatogenesis, okay, overall development of male organs or male characters. Okay, ABP, androgen binding protein, what it does? What this ABP does? You remember the transverse section of seminiferous tubule. In that I explained that as testosterone is secreted outside the seminiferous tubule, this diffuses inside the seminiferous tubule, okay, and it gets concentrated near the Sertoli cell. So androgen binding protein, it increases the concentration of testosterone inside the seminiferous tubule, okay, so that it can provide or it can facilitate the process of spermatogenesis. Now what does inhibin do? As I told you, inhibin has a negative feedback. Okay, negative feedback means if spermatogenesis takes place in excessive amount, if sperm are produced in more number, then it gives negative feedback. Okay, it stops the further secretion of hormones. So we will see who gives positive response, who gives negative response also. Now obviously hypothalamus gives positive response. Okay, GnRH has positive response, anterior pituitary, FSH also, because they are secreting hormones based on the need of body. Fine. Now if there is an excess of secretion of this hormone or excess spermatogenesis, then this inhibin gives negative feedback to hypothalamus as well as to anterior pituitary, because what testes want to do, testes want to reduce the production of sperm. So we have to reduce the secretion of GnRH as well as secretion of FSH and LH. So this inhibin gives negative feedback to hypothalamus as well as anterior pituitary. Here at further extent, testosterone also gives negative feedback, okay, to hypothalamus as well as anterior pituitary. Means if spermatogenesis takes place in excess amount, okay, its production it is reduced, okay, because daily sperms are produced in million numbers. Okay, so if its number exceeds, then we have to lower down the amount of hormones which are secreted. So for that negative feedback it is also essential. So that negative feedback is given by inhibin. Inhibin stops or it reduces secretion by hypothalamus as well as pituitary gland. In addition to this excess level of testosterone in the body, they also gives negative feedback, okay, by suppressing or by reducing secretions of hypothalamus as well as anterior pituitary. Fine. Now this is the hormonal regulation of male reproductive system. Students, remember these things, okay. Hormones, all the development of male sex organ, they are under the influence of male hormones. Fine. During embryonic case, FSH and LH, okay, they are responsible for development of testes. They are responsible for development of they are responsible for movement of testes into scrotum. Fine. So all these processes, they are regulated by hormone. Overall process of spermatogenesis is regulated by hormone. Okay, so this is the part of hormonal regulation of male reproductive system. Fine. I hope you understood this part. Okay, now after this we are going to see the process of spermatogenesis in detail. Okay, very important point, that is process of spermatogenesis. Okay, once you understood what is or in what way different processes are regulated by hormones, now we will see how sperms are produced or what is the process of spermatogenesis. Fine.